At this time, I'd like to introduce our speaker for the night. Skip Murphy is a local blogger and activist, a member of the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers and the New Hampshire Republican Volunteer Coalition. He's a co-founder of Granite Rock. You say, what is Granite Rock? If you haven't already liked their Facebook page, you should. They're a New Hampshire-based conservative forum that has made a name for itself with a focus on political and Christian values of the day. A Tea Party activist and a citizen journalist, his goal is to use the new media to expose the progressive agenda and advance the radical notion of our American founders, that of the individual right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, welcome, Skip.
Well, thank you very much. If you cannot hear me, let me know. We've had a round of illnesses at my house. Last one being the very bad cough. My wife, my grandson, and now me. And my vocal cords are just starting to recover. So if I'm speaking too softly, let me know. And also, I don't want to stand here and lecture the entire evening. Love questions. As a blogger, we go all over the place. We're off on side tangents all the time. But I do want to read something that's been picked up that I wrote a couple days after the last election, and that has been picked up in a number of places across the country. If the New Hampshire Republican Party wants to win, and win consistently, act like you believe in the platform, speak like you do, and at each and every turn, vote like you do. Vote like you do at each and every opportunity. And legislate like there's no tomorrow, because 2 days ago, it wasn't, oh gosh, sorry. 2 days ago, that no more tomorrow arrived. I mean, a lot of people went, oh boy, this is not good. Now, full disclosure, I have not been a registered Republican for a number of years. Thank you, Republican support for Medicaid expansion, which is the whole reason why I unenrolled. I just said enough. But I would like to think that through Granite Rock, I and the others who write for me, and we are all volunteers, none of us get paid. We do all of this stuff because we believe this is our way of fighting the good fight. And trust me, the progressives hate us. They do not like what we say, and they do not like what we do. So let me go back in time for a little bit, let you know how we started, what we've been doing, what we're going to be doing, and what we're hoping to do fairly soon, and how that all ties together. We started, Doug Lambert and I started Granite Rock in 2006. We had met on a local radio show, and we decided we had lots of opinions. The host didn't want to go into this new thing called blogging, so he and I went off and said, okay, well, we'll start this. We didn't know what was going to happen. We knew we had opinions on everything, and sometimes multiple opinions on the same issue. And we figured that between our families, maybe we get an additional 5 or 6 people a week to read our blog site. Well, in the early years, first couple, we did very well. And there's a hierarchy in what we call the blogosphere, that you can be very hyper-local, then you get to a state level, and then jump to the national level. Well, we kind of went up pretty quick, and then just kind of stalled out between national and state, and we decided, well, that's no place to be because you're not satisfying your need in either spot. So we came down to the New Hampshire level, and that's where we've been since 2006. We do have a reputation. Most of it, I think, is pretty good. And I am very surprised that over the last year that we used to be persona non grata, especially in the GOP circles, that we're getting a lot of invites to come to groups like this to tell the Granite Rock story and offer our help to folks like you as well. Because we have come out to be a a relatively big voice. As Greg Moore of AFP says, you guys punch way above your weight. A little bit of our size at this point. We have grown, and we've grown a lot. It took us 5 years to get our first 1 million hits. A hit being somebody coming to the website, reading one or more posts. Over this past year, I am hoping that by the end of this year, we will be at 1.6 million hits in 1 year. All of a sudden, the things that we have been saying and been saying consistently, based on the New Hampshire Constitution, based on the US Constitution, and the conservative principles within the NHGOP, all of a sudden people are starting to say, boy, those are sounding like good things to read about and good things to be doing about as well. The one thing I can say about 20 odd people who have signed up to write for Granite Grok is that we are all political activists. I was talking with Pat and, okay, I'm horrible at names.
Yeah.
Thank you. About being on my local SB2 budget committee and some of the things that have happened on that. We have people who are involved with lots of different other entities here in New Hampshire. So we're almost like the bumblebee that goes and flies among all these flowers, and they all come back and we all bring those experiences to the fore. I would like to say that we're generally within a page or two of each other, sometimes within the same paragraph, but it gives us the ability to know how hard it is for people to basically get off the couch and go do something and do it well. We hope to be able to serve as motivators in some cases for those people who say, well, I can't do that. I've got several writers who said, I could never write. And now they are very prolific and they do very well with their own audience set. We try to tell people, you can do this. Most importantly, you're not alone. We will back you up. And we have gone to bat for a number of people who have tried to make a difference politically on the conservative side here in New Hampshire. But I digress, and I do that a lot. Sorry, go off on tangents. So what do we write about? We write about culture and politics. Occasionally with other things, we call them palate cleansers. We'll just go off and do anything. I have only 2 rules for the writers at Granite Grok. 1, don't write or display anything which would cause little Janie or Johnny run to mommy and daddy and go, what is this? Because I'm going to get the phone call. Number 2, write about whatever you want. And some of the new people who go, well, what should I write about? And I say, what interests you? There's a reason why we asked you to write. You've written some op-eds, and we've gone through that. And Steve McDonald, who couldn't come tonight, he's a little under the weather, otherwise we'd be having more of a back and forth. But the last moment he said he couldn't come. But once we grant you an authorship, do that stuff that you enjoy to do. It's sort of like, anybody familiar with Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals?
No.
Okay, so I tell my authors, do what gives you pleasure. Do what you like to do. I never assign people to do things. I may suggest once in a while, because with those 20 people, we've covered almost every single part of the state. Lately, we've been getting people out of the Monadnock area, you know, that keen infestation of ultra progressivism. Well, now we're inserting people in there and having a field day. What was mentioned was, you know, the people voting. Now, like with the Medical Leave Act, which was voted out of committee today, I think 10 to 8 along party lines. Excuse me. You know, the income tax. That would be administered not by legislators, but by a bureaucrat. Always figuring. So now another case of the administrative state. Anybody not know what I mean by the administrative state or the deep state? This is when the legislators decide, we're not really going to do the job we've been elected to. We're going to kind of do a little bit of a framework. And then we're going to throw it over the wall and give it to the executive branch and let the bureaucrats take care of it. This, I think, has been one of the biggest failures over and over again over the last 15 years here in New Hampshire. legislators are lazy. Now they say, well, we get 1,000, 1,200 bills a year. Well, it's time to start cutting them down and do the job right. That's a pet peeve of mine. But that's also a big reason why we're in the messes that we are nowadays, because they're not legislating. In a lot of cases, they're just grandstanding, or they want to be somebody instead of wanting to do the work. And I think it's fairly easy to say that while we go after progressives and Democrats all the time, we have no problem going after Republicans on the idea of when you do right, we thank you, and when you don't, we're going to smack you around for a while. There's a person out in Wyndham that has felt our ire several times, and he's complained through third parties. Skip, leave me alone. And my response is with a laugh, stop doing stupid stuff. You know, stop voting with the Democrats. Don't endorse Democrats in a race when a Republican from your own town is running. If you do that, of course somebody's going to tell us. And of course we're going to do something about it. So I wouldn't call us the conscience of the GOP here in New Hampshire. We just like to have a bit of sport about it and calling these kinds of idiotic actions to the fore. Now, let me get back on track.
Croc TV.